sensitive stomach dog food. And this is a topic that comes time and time again. It comes up all the time, and we see this all the time, literally all the time. And sometimes it isn't as hard as people make it out to be. You only have to do or tweak a couple things, and your dog can have a sensitive stomach no more. The first thing we want to talk about is the diet, the dog's diet. Is there anything in your dog's diet that is causing the sensitivity in the stomach? The second thing we are going to touch upon is any food allergies or intolerances that we know already or that we might not know. But this is something that we will later be covering. We are then going to talk about certain diet changes. Has the dog eaten something out of the ordinary? Has the dog eaten something in the last 24 hours and now the dog has a sensitive stomach? We are going to talk about some parasites, some things like worms, giardia, all these things that do influence how your dog's stomach and immune system behave. We are going to talk about bacterial or fungal infections. We are going to talk about if your dog has a bit of a viral infection or any health issues whatsoever. We are then going to talk about inflammatory conditions like IBD, IBS, inflammatory bowel disease. That could be another option. Number 7 is going to do with ingesting anything that is not part of the diet. So any foreign objects that your dog might have consumed that you might not be aware of, but that could be a bit of a checklist for you to do. We are going to talk about potential pancreatitis in your dog, and it is rumored that 1 in 4 dogs walking around already has some sort of pancreatitis, and pancreatitis is the inflammation of the pancreas whenever it comes to stomach issues, and one of the stomach issues. And then we are going to talk about the lack of fiber, dietary fiber, and we are going to talk about potential constipation. We are going to talk about bone. We are going to talk about probiotics. So we are going to do a 10 checkpoint, a 10 list checkpoint thing. And so I hope it helps. Please let me know any comments below, and I'll do my best to get back to you. We are going to first talk about diet whenever it comes to the best food for a sensitive stomach. This is something that happens time and time again. Exploring a single protein food is probably the best thing you can do for your dog. But people will put their dogs on a single protein food and then will forget about the single protein food. What do I mean? This is very, very simple. I had a friend come in the other day, for example, and his dog has some sensitivities, some diarrhea, loose stools, that sort of thing. And the dog was on raw food, and I just said, "Well, what proteins are you giving the dog?" And they were like, "Well, we give the dog a bunch of things, and that's how we do things." And I'm like, "Well, you need to put the dog on a single protein food. So choose something that's quite rare. If the dog goes on lamb, chicken, or beef, for example, those are quite widely available. And so maybe choose something that isn't as apparent. How about sardine? How about ostrich? How about reindeer, for example, as a meat source?" And then they started adding all the different treats and proteins and little tidbits. And I said, no, just put them back. Put everything back. The dog only has the food. And whenever we know the food is okay, then we can jump onto something else. So if you are having issues with your dog, whenever it comes to their sensitivities and icky tummies and that sort of thing, you have to peel back the diet to one single protein, and then do not feed the dog any other treats or anything else, because that would then be a bit of an oxymoron. We are trying to tackle the big problem here whilst all we are doing is then giving the dog chicken-based treats and biscuits and whatever else. So choose a single protein food and see how that goes. And in 10 times out of maybe 12, that tends to do very, very well. You can then incorporate other all the proteins into the diet, but do not give the dog too many things. Do not give the dog too many proteins, too many treats, this, that, the other, because otherwise you aren't going to be able to pinpoint what's causing the aggravation in your dog's stomach. And that's very, very important. That's arguably one of the most important things. Traceability is one of the most important things. The next thing I want to talk about is for you to read the ingredients on the back of the food you are currently giving. And if you see meat and animal derivatives, if you see sugar, if you see animal fats, if you see wheat, gluten, if you see barley, if you see corn, if you see rice, if you see any of these ingredients, my suggestion is you need to look for a better food. You need to look for an alternative. You need to look for something else because what you are feeding is either quite vague or potentially very, very inflammatory. And so inflammation is something that we want to avoid. So by avoiding wheat, corn, barley, soy, meat and animal derivatives, animal fats, or anything that we do not know where that comes from, that is surely going to be a net positive for our dog's sensitive stomach. Please let me know in the comments if that makes sense, and please like and subscribe. Be very, very appreciative. So the diet has to be on point. The diet has to be on point. There are many videos on the channel about what to do, what not to do, what to look out for in a good food, in a bad food, and how to do things. The second thing we are going to talk about is any potential food allergies or intolerances. So if you have taken your dog to the vet, maybe you have an allergy sheet already. And by having that allergy sheet, or by identifying that the dog is not okay on one particular protein, then we can avoid that protein. And that is then just a case of tolerances. Oh well, chicken is in amber, so I can maybe get away with a little bit of chicken as a binder, maybe. But if beef is in red, anything beef is not going to be very good for your dog. So if your dog already has some food allergies that you know of, and if you have the dog allergy sheet, then that's potentially very, very valuable. If you don't have an allergy sheet already, I suggest you take a blood allergy sample, not the hair one, because that's literally a waste of money, and I don't want you to waste any money. But definitely, food allergies is something else to look out for whenever we talk about sensitive stomachs. Let me know if that makes sense. Then let's talk about sudden diet changes. Let's say your dog has been on a particular food for a very long time, and now we have changed the food, or we have introduced something else to their diet, and consequently, our dog is struggling. What could be the reason why the dog is struggling? Well, it could be excess bone in their diet, a bit more bone, not as much bone, excess fat in the food, for example. It could be a high proportion of carbohydrates. Maybe it could be lack of good ingredients. Maybe it could be the vagueness of some of the ingredients of the new food. So if your dog has transitioned or is transitioning to a new dog food, then maybe you need to reassess the new food and read the ingredients and see whether there's any potential allergens, any potential offenders, anything that could be potentially bad for your dog. Number 4 is intestinal parasites, or things like worms or giardia. And obviously, these need sometimes veterinary intervention. Maybe we need some injections. Maybe we need some tablets. Maybe we need whatever we need from the vet. Do not discard it as it's already spring. And with spring, with the change in season, maybe we see a lot more worms and parasites and weird things, especially if our dog is out and about all the time, and that can have an impact on your dog's stomach. Very, very important. I would say that's number 4. Number 5 is anything bacterial or any fungal infections. So maybe check your dog's paws, check your dog's nose, anything, your dog's ears, anything that doesn't feel quite right. That could be another potential catalyst or indication that our dog could be could be struggling with some allergies or with some sensitivities whenever it comes to their gut. Remember that everything sort of reflects on the gut. So if your dog's teeth aren't looking too good, that could be the gut telling you something. That could be your good bacteria telling you that the dog is not functioning properly. So the gut is absolutely key whenever it comes to your dog's immune system. It's absolutely vital. So bear in mind any viral infections, any bacterial infections, or any fungal infections. Check ears, check the nose, check the paws, check anything that isn't normal in your dog's diet or in your dog's life. Number 6 has to do with any inflammatory conditions, IBD, IBS, and um, some dogs, some breeds are more prone than others to have IBD or IBS, or be a bit more delicate. If you have a Dalmatian, that's a delicate breed. If you have a West Highland Terrier, that's a delicate breed. If you have a Husky, sometimes those can be a delicate breed. If you have anything like that, that could be inherently a delicate breed. And so maybe you need to double check your diet. For example, my one of my friends has a South African Mastiff, Bull Mastiff, and that breed is inherently problematic whenever it comes to allergies and sensitivities and allergies and that sort of thing. So paying attention to the food is extremely, extremely important. Number 7 has to do with, has your dog there? A tennis ball, anything. Has the dog eaten anything that that maybe is causing inflammation or causing a choking hazard? That could be again why your dog all of a sudden has some stomach issues. Obviously, if these things go on for more than 2 days, you should take your dog to the vet and for your vet to examine your dog. I would be very, very wary of any prescription diets they want to put you on. Prescription diets are horrible. So any wheat, barley, corn, soy, any sugar, any caramelized sugar in prescription dog foods are absolutely horrible. It's a really, really no go. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, has your dog ingested anything that should not be there? We are then going to talk about pancreatitis, and pancreatitis is one of those things that does affect a few dogs, and their stomach issues. And whenever we talk about pancreatitis is more common than you think. It is believed that 1 in 4 dogs walking around already has pancreatitis, some sort of chronic pancreatitis. Why? Well, processed foods, a lot of carbohydrates in the food, a constant spike in insulin, a constant release of glucose, too much glucose going into the blood, and as a result, that glucose turning into fat, turning into triglycerides in the liver. If you eat, for example, pasta 5 times a day, yeah, pasta might be low fat, but you put weight on because of of the fact that carbohydrates turn into fat. And so, if your dog has any sort of pancreatitis, could it be pancreatitis? To look out for pancreatitis signs, sometimes you look at the dog's stools, and if they are oily and yellowy, that could be a sign of pancreatitis potentially. But again, you would have to check with your vet. So that can be another thing, another sign. Um, Stress and anxiety. Have you gone anywhere lately? Have you been anywhere lately? If you, for example, have moved house, or the dog is stressed for whatever reason, that could have an impact on the dog, on the animal. They tend to be very they like routine. We know they like routine. They don't like sudden change. And so if you have changed anything in your dog's life lately, that could have an impact on your dog's stomach. And then number 10 has to do with fiber, dietary fiber. We have two forms of fiber. We have soluble and insoluble. Are we providing our dog with any dietary fiber? Anything that we are giving our dog could be very healthy. Something like a probiotic, like natural yogurt, and dollop of natural yogurt could be very beneficial for your dog's gut. Psyllium husk, natural psyllium husk, is a very good source as well. Fiber, anything with fur. If you go to your local pet shop, rabbit ears or lamb ears, or deer legs, or that sort of thing, anything with fur, natural fur, passes down through the stomach undigested. We have things like chia seeds, for example, and maybe some rolled oats, a bit of rolled oats, and that could be another source of dietary fiber. Maybe some pumpkin, a little bit of pumpkin. That could be another thing you can do to provide fiber. We then have things like turmeric. We have things like turmeric, anti-inflammatory. We have things we have things like marshmallow root, for example, tree bark powder, very soothing. Any digestive tablets, anything like that could be very beneficial. I would encourage you not to try all the sources of fiber at once. I would add a source of fiber and a source of insoluble fiber, one soluble, one insoluble at a time. Don't do everything at the same time, because you then will not know if something's working or something's not working. Try to do everything incrementally. The symptoms can range from vomiting, diarrhea, loss of appetite, abdominal pain, chronic dehydration. We are talking about if your dog is more lethargic than anything else. If you can identify and treat any underlying causes of this, it could be your dog's gut, your dog's sensitivity. So we have covered diet, what to do. We have covered food allergies, any food allergies. If you have the test sheet, that could be very interesting. Any sudden diet changes the dog has encountered, any intestinal parasites, especially now with the new season, with spring, um, worms, giardia, anything that's out there that our dog might have caught. We then have, obviously, certain breeds are more delicate than others. Uh, any viral infections, any bacterial infections, any fungal infections, that could be also something that triggers the body. We then have inflammatory conditions like IBD, IBS, and that's not to be sniffed at, because that does happen more than you would know. We have ingestion of foreign objects, and that's something that is horrible whenever it happens, but it does happen. Whether your dog has eaten a yak, a complete yak, or an antler, or a trachea that my dog was munching on the other day, and has had a sensitive stomach ever since. Things like pancreatitis, for example, that's a big one, a really big one. We have covered stress and anxiety, and we have chosen a source of fiber, soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. Chia seeds, marshmallow root, anything with fur on, pumpkin, psyllium husk. Those are some of my favorite sources of fiber. Everything natural could be very, very good. And so I hope that helps. Let me know. Subscribe, like, and I'll see you in the next one.